Everybody, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. Today we have another video from another channel. These are the Legends of Nerdvana. 3 people who are working their way through a 3,000 game collection, and then, if I know gamers, adding more to that collection before they finish working their way through it. So we're going to bring you a video from them. We've got several videos from them coming up in the future. Hope you enjoy them. Click on the link in the description below to go check out their YouTube channel.
Today we got to play Stardew Valley. So
the board game.
The board game.
Yeah, not the
so
video
this is actually pretty hot. It came off the presses, immediately sold out.
Still is sold out.
Still is sold out. Randy paid an extraordinary amount of money for this game.
$150.
That was insane. So
it's your favorite video game. I bought it for you.
Right. No.
I don't like co-op games. I didn't buy it for me. I could tell
Anyway,
We're running with that he bought it for Miranda. So.
That's the story. But anyway, so hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. We'd love to have you guys again. So let's dig into it. Rob, tell us more about the game.
So Stardew Valley came out last year at the BGG rating is 7.3. The designers, there's only a couple designers. It's Eric Barone and Cole Medeiros. But the art, there's a ton of people. So we got Alex Vander Awe, Gustavo the Goose Gutierrez, Justin Williams, Luke Aiello, Christine McTurnan, Ed Poila, Rachel Lapidow, Gina Salvador. So the MSRP, not me, Randy, spent $150 for this version of the game. The MSRP, I really couldn't find the price. It's not available on the website. I couldn't find any listings on eBay. So I honestly don't know how much it was originally.
Yeah, and I would not have paid $150 for this game myself. It was for Miranda.
Right. Okay. That's our
I
story.
don't care for this game, so it would definitely not have been for
All
me.
right. So let's dig into the quality of pieces. The cards, they're not very good.
Yeah.
They've got no linen finish. They don't. The player pieces are a leftover from Sorry or some other.
Very meh.
They're like literally. I feel like I had this game piece as a child in one of the games.
Yeah.
The dice are the only unique feature to this game.
So I believe this was. I don't think this was a Kickstarter game, was it? I think it was just.
Yes, it was.
Was it Kickstarter?
I think it was a Kickstarter originally. I could be wrong,
but that's what it feels like. It feels like a company's
definitely
very first Kickstarter game.
Yeah.
And even though they may have done very well, they didn't know what to do with that money because they already probably developed most of it.
Well, and I'm sure
And
to get
it's
this Stardew license was probably astronomical.
And so I just think they probably did the best they could with what they had, but.
They did have a good organization.
They
I
did.
mean,
well, yeah, but it's kind of flimsy. I mean, it's nice, but when you get it out, it all wobbles and pieces can fall out
so,
easily.
I mean, they tried.
I think that's it. I think they tried.
Yeah.
I think they tried.
They get an E for effort.
Yeah. But if you were to give that E a number, what would that number be?
That's the 5th letter of the alphabet. I'm going to go slightly above it. I'll go a 5.5 maybe, because they did try.
I don't think it's any better than Catan. It's a 5.
I'm at the same thing. I mean, cardboard chits, crappy game pieces. I'm right there. Honestly, I'd almost say it was worse if there wasn't so many pieces.
Or, I mean, the artwork on the board is nice.
Well, that goes with theme, though.
It does, but still, I mean, the board itself, even though it's
if it weren't for the dice, I definitely would be going below a 5. I think pull it up.
I think so, too.
Okay, yeah, okay. 5.5 then.
5. I'm not going to go higher than 5.
Okay. All right, 5.25 then. There you go. All right. We'll be right there in the middle. Okay, so moving on to theme. This is where I think it shines in the fact that I love this video game. And I do think that this board game is very reminiscent of that video game. You do have the farming element. You do have the fishing element. And in this one, I can actually catch something because I cannot catch anything in the video game.
Are there aliens in the video game?
What?
I think those are supposed to be like bugs.
They're bugs.
They look like aliens to me.
They do. So there are a lot of things reminiscent of the game that is totally spot on and accurate, and I think the theme carries over. And I'm excited that I can actually catch a fish. So But you guys, not knowing the game, what did you guys think about it?
Okay. I mean, it didn't get me excited about anything. And I mean, and if I want to play a farming type game, there's much better options out there. So it's just okay. I wasn't too impressed by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's pretty mediocre. I mean, if you're a fan of the video game, this is probably going to be. I think that the hype train is super high on this,
Right.
just because there's a lot of fans of this video game, and it's definitely not my game at all choice.
No, I do think the theme carry over. If you really like Stardew Valley, it is really cool and it is reminiscent. So let's give theme a score.
4.
Wow, ouch! I'm feeling it.
I don't think it's deserving of a bad score. I just don't think it's my cup of tea.
All right, I'll go 5. All right, I'll go Catan.
I mean, as far as incorporating the theme into the gameplay, I think they've done that. It's not my preferable theme. It's definitely not my preferred, even as far as farming games go, it's definitely not my choice like yours. I would give it a 7 still in the theme. It does carry the Stardew Valley theme in very well.
Theme for me, part of it is enjoyment, and do I get sucked into the game?
I thought that's where gameplay came in.
Well, that's part of it too, but theme is a big part of that. I mean, if theme isn't strong for me, I'm not going to like it as
You're
much.
just a stick in the mud.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't like the game.
No,
I don't hate it. I mean, it's not worse than Catan. It's just not that great.
It's just meh for you.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I think the theme really fits Stardew Valley. I think if you're seeking that kind of game, I think this carries through. So for me, I am actually probably going to give this probably an 8.5 for the theme. For the theme.
Wow.
I think it matches. If you played the video game and enjoyed
I started it, but I never really got that far into it.
Yeah, so if you play the game, you grasp this theme and it does incorporate it. So that's the reason why I'm giving it so high. If you want the feelings of that game, you'll get it with this. But I think if, in that same token, if you don't know Stardew Valley, I don't think the theme carries off so very far, which I think you can see with your guys' thoughts. So let's move on to rules. So this is our second playthrough.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this game.
There really is.
It was actually more than I expected with this type of game. I mean, it's an IP that's more of a cute type of IP. The game's pretty in depth for that. I mean, it's surprisingly in depth. But the rules weren't too bad. They're very cute as far as all the animation, cartoonish drawings. We had a few spots where it didn't really give examples was the biggest thing. I mean, it was like the rule was there if you read it and you understood it, but there weren't a lot of examples in the rule book. I don't know if there were any examples in the rule book. There might have been it says example there. There's a few, but not many.
Yeah.
And,
I do think, with that being said, though, after the second playthrough, we still realized we did something wrong in that second playthrough. So I do think as far as level, I would put this at a medium game at least.
I'd say it's medium.
Because there is a lot going on. So be warned that if you're not familiar with board games and you're buying this, Stardew Valley, be prepared for some.
In our first playthrough, the game whipped us.
It
and
kicked our tail.
And the second time we played through it, maybe because we played it wrong, but we did win.
Yeah.
But it looked like it was going to whip us at the beginning.
It really did.
Yeah. I do think, though, we did play it wrong, which led us not to be at the wire because of the one thing that we did wrong. Where if that the dice rolling for the animal thing, I think if we had done that correctly,
it would definitely been harder.
I think we would have been right there at I think that we still would have won, but I think we would have been much more at the finish line. Because we had an extra round, and that round would have been taking up an animal and another night. So I don't feel like we didn't win, but I still felt like we would have been closer to it. So rules, give it a score.
I'm going to go ahead and give it probably 7.5. They were pretty good. They weren't bad, and it was just that there's so much to remember for this, and the iconography that it's confusing because the icon index, the
There
reference
wasn't
sheet
cheat
is not
sheets, though,
great.
right?
Well, it has on the back a reference sheet, but all it does is literally have the picture and the name of it.
But there wasn't
There's-
individual cheat sheets. We
and
usually
then-
count against the
Yeah,
game,
and then
but it
there's
doesn't
like
have
page
that.
numbers to reference on some of them to tell you where to go. So this really does you no good. You know, you might as well just look it up inside if you're going to do that. So I can't give it more than 7.5. It did its job of explaining the rules, but that's it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it wasn't great, and you didn't have a cheat sheet. You know, things were around the board, and
I didn't
It's
read
okay.
it, so I'll agree. But I don't like the idea you didn't have a cheat sheet. Though.
yeah, I don't either. All right, so moving on to gameplay. So basically, at the start of the round, you flip over an event card, and it tells you whether the crows eat your crops, or whether a JoJo comes in and takes over a location, or different other possibilities, or that your friends give you gifts that day. So
To be
that's
fair, not everybody knows Stardew Valley terminology. So a Joja is an obstacle that gets placed on one of the spaces.
right. So just understand that there are different events that happen at the beginning of the round. Then you pick your starting location. You can start anywhere on the board, and everyone picks their starting location. Understanding that you have two actions, either an action move action or two actions at the same location. So depending on the location that you started at, that will give you your options for your different actions. So you go in turn order, you take your actions, and at the end of the turn, you have the end of turn effects. So some of the different actions that you can have are building a shed for maybe your animals, or plant some crops or water the crops. You can go buy or sell goods, you can go mining, you can go fishing in several different locations, or you can meet people and make them your friend to gain hearts, which are very, very important throughout the game. And so you're trying to gather as much resources as you possibly can to fulfill end of game criteria. So there's two different end of game goals that you're trying to meet as the group.
Which is based off of difficulty. There's 3 levels of difficulty. So we
Yeah.
played the medium difficulty, right?
Yeah, we played the standard game,
Yeah.
but really the differences are you complete like all of these and only one of these. You complete none of those. You complete all of these plus have no Jojas on the board. That's the determining factor. There's just you can make it more difficult or less difficult
Right.
based on that, but it's really about these goals.
Yeah. So there are basically, if you're very familiar with the game, there is the community center, and you're trying to fulfill different goals for different parts of the game. So like for animals, you have to have certain resources, or farming, you have to have certain crops, or foraging, certain things. So depending on what's available, you flip over, that will tell you what you're trying to achieve. And then also your these goals, this one is you got to have 3 friends per player, or this one has to have certain amount of money per player. So all of those are all different things that you're trying to do. There are professional upgrades in this, so you do get to upgrade your character, which I thought was actually really nice.
Some of them are pretty powerful. I thought that was kind of cool.
Some of them are really nice, and then some of them are like, okay. I mean,
But-
they're not great, but they're not bad.
There's a little mitigation where you get to draw 2, keep 1.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there is that. And then you can upgrade your mining level just like you do in the game. You go further down and get better stuff. So there's a lot of thing that mirrors the game. So I found it a lot easier to pick up than these guys did, but that's because I'm familiar with the game. So I do kind of want to point that out, that if you're more familiar with Stardew Valley, I think some of these concepts will come a lot easier. What was your favorite part of the game?
I'm not sure I had one.
Come up with something.
I mean, I like the fact that it's got a variety of tasks. I didn't really find any of them overly engaging, but I like the fact that there was a lot of variety, like the mining or the fishing or the different. There was a lot of choices to make as far as what you could do, But as far as I didn't find any of them to be overly enjoyable.
Right, nor did I, but if I had to pick one thing I liked more than anything, just because I had to do it so much, I like the idea that the planting the crops and how you water them advances the value and how soon you can get them and the amount of money you get. You sell them off and you can get quite a bit of coins. So
Yeah, so there's a couple of things so this is a co-op game, which is never Randy's favorite thing. So I do want to point that out. I do think there is a significant difficulty level to this. I do think, and you can make it harder as you get more comfortable with the game, that I particularly like. I do think it has a Stardew Valley feeling, which I enjoyed. However, all that being said, it gets kind of repetitive.
It does. It gets samey.
It gets samey. So I really enjoyed it the first playthrough. The second playthrough, I enjoyed it a little less. So even though there's a bunch of different like cards of fulfillment for the end of game and these that are different, I am concerned about playability with this game. It was a little more complicated than I thought that they were going to come up with, which was great. But without that competitive nature of trying to get more resources than other people. Like if we had our own farms.
That's classic Miranda right there. She wants to build better than you.
It's so true. It's so true. Well, and the thing is like being in co-op games, like I feel like you almost have to have your private goal to make it a little bit more fun or more engaging, I guess.
I think it depends. I mean, I don't like co-op games, like I said, in general, but so Subterra is a co-op that I think we all enjoyed because there was a tension to the game that you felt like you were all in it together, and if you had to work together as a team to get out of it. So there was a lot more strategizing and co-oping. Whereas this one, it was like, all right, I'm going to go here and try to get stuff, and I might roll the dice, and maybe I'll get stuff, or maybe I won't. And then it's like, if I don't, well, next turn I'm going to do exactly the same thing again to try to get stuff again.
Well, I do think we started strategizing towards the end.
Oh, we definitely did.
But it was still the same thing.
But at the beginning, though, we were really kind of just doing our own things, and then just kind of quickly just realized we weren't going to win, so we had to strategize a little bit.
But even then,
it was very samey, though.
Yeah.
It was just
wash,
rinse, repeat.
Every turn for the last several turns, I was just go to the mine and mine. Right. That's all I was doing.
I agree with that, but it was still as a result that this is what we needed to do.
Yeah.
So we did it.
I'm sad there's not more engine building.
Yeah.
Because, you plant crops, and I guess you had your animals in your farms, but that was it as far, you had the profession cards, but they weren't all that. You can only have 2.
Right.
Yeah.
So you might get a good combo, but comparative to, and I think that's the thing. This may be my real problem. There's no real build to this.
Mm-hmm.
It's about gathering resources and fulfilling these and spending them, but there's no real build component.
Right.
I think that actually may be my biggest problem that's missing with this is that feel of.
And you do build a lot in Stardew, right?
Yeah, you're building your farm, you're clearing the things, and you are, and then you have all these quests to fulfill.
So do you think that maybe if there was like an Uwe element of a farm and fields and like working the field, it might have changed your mind a little bit?
Well, you know what? It might have been better if you had to build bridges to get to certain locations. Or I think there should have been I don't think you should have access to everything right off the bat. Maybe you had to build bridges to gain access to the mine, right?
And that could be like one of the cards up here, build bridges to then do the next part of the thing.
Yeah, I think that's actually, now that we're talking about it, I think that's what was missing in this game is, okay, everything's already finished, now you're just collecting stuff. You're just collecting stuff kind of like end of game, and then you're like, okay, well, I'm ready to...
It's almost like pick up and deliver.
Yeah, and I mean, and the epic items I felt were wasted because there was really 2 ways to get them. There were 3 if you count the fact the museum has 2 tracks to get each one of them. But by the time you complete all 6 of these goals to get the one up here, the game's over. You've already it's like what's the point in getting it? You've already won, and they're very powerful, and that's great that they're powerful. But if you never get to use it, what does it matter? It's just a trophy at that point.
Right.
And that's what I was like. It felt like, why even have those in the game? They're taunting me because I want one.
Well, here's the other piece of it, though. You have to spend 3 hearts to flip these over.
Well, you have to split a number of player hearts.
Right. Okay. But still, you have to pay hearts to flip these over. So, you're right. It's at the end of the game. It'd be different if these were already shown.
Right.
And you could go fill them as you get the
Or you would get the epic item as you complete them, and then you could get, or if you complete like 2 of them, then you get an epic item or something. So you get more rewards.
Well, I guess there's a third if you go, because if you reach level 12 in the mine, you get one.
Oh, because
but still, that is really difficult too.
Yeah, it's like by the time you get any of them, the game's over.
Yeah.
So there's no point in them being powerful, and it's just it's everything about this is just very frustrating because it's like there's elements of it that seem like they could be made better.
Yeah.
None of them are good by themselves, and the only thing that makes it good is the fact that they're all piled into the game together.
With the theme.
Yeah, with the theme. And if you're a Stardew Valley fan, the theme is going to be appealing to you. I'm not a Stardew Valley fan. It wasn't appealing to me. The gameplay was dry and boring, honestly. And if it weren't for the fact that I knew I got this from Miranda and I wanted her to enjoy it, I would have been bored out of my mind playing this game.
Yeah. Well, I think you'll be able to get your money back if you try to sell this now.
I think so.
But the reality is...
So that's against Randy's religion, by the way.
Selling a board game. Oh, heaven forbid. But trade. He might be willing to trade.
I wouldn't trade your game. This is your game. Somehow.
Then I will trade it. No. Let's give it a score, guys. What's your score?
Again, there's nothing particularly exciting about it. It's I agree with Randy. It's kind of boring. I like Catan better, so I can't rank it any higher than a 5.
I'm right there with you as it being a 5. I can't go below that. I think there's enough there to mix it at least the same level as Catan as far as just based Catan. I just don't see it being better than a 5. I can't.
So being the Stardew Valley fan, like I said, the first time I actually kind of enjoyed it. The second time, it lost some of the appeal because of the sameness factor. I'm afraid that it will continue to lose appeal as we go forward. And I have a really deep concern about that. With no building component to it, it's pretty rough. So the first playthrough, I probably would have given the 7, but now I'm down to a 6. And I think if I had to play it one more time, it would just continue to deteriorate for me.
It'll be interesting to see if they can change any of this through an expansion.
Yeah,
if we even see that come through.
I don't know if they will.
A one and done considering they haven't reprinted it yet.
Yeah.
Another thing we didn't mention is that because to get like the hearts to flip these over, the only way to get hearts is to get friends. So it's like almost everything is just there's one way to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. You have to do these things, and there's no doubt you have to gain friends because there's no other option to get hearts.
Well, that is a big piece of the game is developing relationships, which I totally get. But like your animals, I felt like you should have been able to like pet your animals to gain heart. Like there are other things in the game that build that relationship because you can build relationships with your animals.
Well, you can pet the animals in this, and it does.
But it costs you hearts.
Yeah, it costs you hearts.
But my thing is like, okay, if you spent so many actions doing that, I don't see why you shouldn't get heart from that because you're building that relationship with your animal because that is something in the game.
Isn't it illegal in some states?
Not that kind of relationship.
Oh, sorry.
No, my thing is I think you're right. There's only one way to get X, and there's only one way to get Y, and I think that leads to a lot of boringness.
Yeah,
right.
So if there were multiple ways to get hearts, or there were multiple ways to get, the different items, it would be a lot.
Or if you can get a meteor to hit Stardew Valley.
Leave Stardew Valley alone. Nothing's wrong with it. Just this board game.
And I think that's one of the reasons we won this game is because some of these aligned for us.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that's another problem with it is if you get
maybe that's why our first
drop,
they didn't align at all.
Right, and you can replace them, but again, costs hearts.
Right.
And hearts are hard to come by, guys.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just how many actions do I want to go keep spending to go make friends? Especially when you only get one perk from them each time. When a gift comes up, you can only trigger one of them.
So you either get a heart or 2 hearts.
Well, no, it's the income, right? So you only get one of your friend's income.
Yeah.
At the gameplay,
right?
So which is honestly,
it's like why have 20 friends just so I get hearts when I'm only going to get to trigger one of them You know, I mean, it's
Yeah. Now, if there is one friend that gives you a heart as their gift, sign me up. Where is that friend? I will find it.
To be fair, there were some times where, like in the late game, it was more beneficial for me to trigger friend X versus friend Y.
Well, sure.
Because their ability was more pertinent at that time. So from that standpoint, having a variety of friends was useful. But it
doesn't make sense
again,
where you can only activate
felt
one
the
friend.
same. It's like, okay, it's just I'm going here to get a friend. I'm going here to do this. I'm going here to do that. And it's always the same thing. I mean, I spent half my game just going to the mine just because we really needed those ores, and it wasn't until the very end when we saw it, and I had to keep going there to get them. And the cards I was getting didn't even have ore on them.
Yeah, it's kind of rough. All right, well, guys, thank you so much. If I could talk. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We greatly appreciate it, and hopefully you'll join us again. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.